Thank you very much for inviting me to this conference. Respected Principal Sahab, Mustaq Ahmed Sahab, Professor Hasim Sahab, dear Ravi Ranjan, who is also a friend of mine, and friends around. Introduction to a person in a conference, I never like it. You know why? It looks like you are saying, Baab Mulawiza Hosiyar, Badshah Padhar Rahe kind of thing. So forget about the introduction. Let us talk something interesting. And I will first begin by thanking the college to inviting me. You know, I have been to Kashmir earlier also, as you know that I have done some projects here. But most of the time I met the elite intellectuals in Kashmir or of Kashmir. I want to go deeper in society. I think Kashmir is a place of great intellectual history, and the knowledge lies in the bottom of the sea, not on the top of it. So I think this is an opportunity for me to interact with people around, and I wish I could have stayed in Tral itself to engage with younger minds. And younger minds really attract me because they are more creative. Young generation is more intelligent. Indian young generation is very intelligent. I must confess that. And now we are seeing in our families also, the parents who are looking towards children to teach them how to operate on computer and mobile. So things have changed. So I get most of my ideas from young friends whom you call students. So I think this is a great opportunity that brought me here, and I would like to hear your mind, what you have, the kind of questions you have to ask me after a brief introduction of the ideas that I am trying to discuss. Let me begin with a story. Who are the forgotten heroes who could not be documented in the books of history? We are trying to document some of them. We are running a kind of program on oral history tradition. And we are documenting very unknown people from villages, from remote areas who have contributed to freedom struggle. A team of professors in JNU are involved in that. People preserve those histories. Intellectuals don't. As you rightly said that intellectuals also have certain alienation with alignment with the power. Peoples don't have that. So they preserve in the stories, in narratives, in songs. That is what we are trying to discover, and that is where we need to go. So let me share a couple of stories with you. One, it has been documented by a novelist in Hindi, very famous novelist called Phanishwar Nath Renu. I don't know if you are aware of his writings, but he's one of the best novelists in Hindi literature. There's a man there's a character in this novel. He is called Vaman Das. His height is 5 feet 3 inches, so a small height, a man, but a Gandhian, and a hardcore Gandhian, and who fights against the British, against the ideas of the colonialism, against idea of humiliation and domination at a bottom level in a village. And then freedom arrives. So what happens in the village, that is documented in the novel when the freedom arrives. And Vaman Das is moving around, seeing towards actions being taken so that freedom is preserved. His great concern was that it is a duty of people to protect the freedom that we have got, which is the duty of ours also, to protect the freedom that we have got. Ruling classes may not be interested in protecting the freedom. They are interested in ruling the country, controlling the population. That's their phrase. People are interested in protecting their freedom that they have got. So Vaman Das was also interested in protecting that freedom that he has got. And one night he found that bullock carts were coming from somewhere, the newly created Pakistan, to India, and something was being smuggled which was prohibited. And he stopped the bullock carts and said that you cannot smuggle, this will damage the economy of this region. Was a Gandhian, so he didn't have any arms to fight. Very small man, had no power, no physical power also to fight, but he was having the courage to stop. The bullock carts were stopped. Police came. He fought with the police. He said, no, you cannot do this. I will sit on dharna, unsung, as Gandhi used to do. And he had a lot of followings around. So police feared that people will, by the morning, people will come there. Then he took him to the Thana, and then he discovered that those who were involved in this process were all local political leaders. So he was first time surprised by seeing that the leaders whom we gave the responsibility of protecting our freedom are actually damaging our freedom. So he was totally surprised, and he was sitting on dharna. He said, tomorrow morning I will mobilize people. But then at night the tragedy happened and the man was killed. The man was killed, but could not be erased from the pages of history, because his Gandhian jhola that he used to have was hanged on a tree. And by the morning people came to know that Vaman Das is killed. He has died. And so people started coming there in big number. And in symbolic respect to Vaman Das, they started putting a piece of cloth on the tree. The tree still exists. That has become a highway. That tree is now on the highway. And every truck, every car crossing by that road tries to salute this person. And many of them try to stop and put a piece of cloth on that place. And it is called now, the place is called now Chethariya Peer. Chethari is the torn clothes. That's called Chethari in Hindi, a local language actually. So he's a Chethariya Peer now. So this is how people remember their protectors of freedom. And that has been erased from the books of history, but not from the memory of the history. Remember that. That memory we have to recollect. That memory now we have to transcribe into literary texts or into history books if you want to like it. Maybe the ruling class will not like it. Maybe such history they are not interested in reclaiming. Let me share another story. I do not know how many of you know about Kumar Singh. Kumar Singh was a big freedom fighter in 1857 in Bihar, part of Bihar, fighting against the British. Around 80 years old man, 85 years old man, picked up the sword, started fighting against the British. And at one stage, his arm was wounded, and he cut his arm and put in the river. At the age of 85, he was doing it. But this courage of Kumar Singh came from where? That is the story that I want to tell you. This courage of Kumar Singh came from a Tawayaf, Dharma Bibi. She was very famous Dharma Bibi in the local area. Not documented in book text of history. Dharma Bibi, when Kumar Singh was asked to force his riaya to give revenue, Kumar Singh said, I can't collect revenue from riaya who does not have any fasal this time. How can I do that? The government said that you have to do it. You do whatever you like, but you have to collect that. He said, I will not do this. So government said that then you will have to sell off your entire zamindari. So Dharma Bibi came forward and sold all her gold to pay on behalf of the riaya to the government. But that history is not documented in the textbook. We got it by narratives that we collected. I have tears in my eyes when I talk about Dharma Bibi. What could have been the kind of contribution that she made to Indian freedom struggle. So these are the forgotten heroes that we have to collect. We have to collect them. Our writers, our poets, our small-time poets in the villages singing around with Iktara, the bowls of Bengal, they were carrying the message of freedom. And Gandhi was aware of this idea, that the message of freedom will be taken to the villages, not by this English-speaking elites coming from Oxford and Cambridge and becoming my disciple. The message will be taken to the villages by these small people. So he had a capacity to clone people. His idea, install his own ideas to smaller people, younger people, and people in the remote areas. How did he do that? I remember I met a very famous writer called Mulk Raz Anand. I don't know if you have heard his name. So I asked him, Malgudi, yes. So I asked him that, why don't you write in Hindi? Why have you started writing in English? He said, I met, Malgudi is R.K. Narayan, Kuli. So he said, I met Gandhi and told him that, look, Hindi is not my natural language, so I can't write very well in Hindi, I can write in English. Gandhi said, English, Hindi, Persian, Urdu, whatever language you know, please start writing stories and novels and poetry. That is how our ideas will go there. So our freedom fighters are actually those poets, those writers, those singers who carry those songs to common villages. We have to recollect those histories. And those histories are not in the archives. Remember, what is an archive? Most of the historians, sorry to say this to historians who believe in writing history on the basis of documents from archive. What is an archive? Archive is a document of the ruling power, the state power. So most of the files prepared by British government are located in the archive. So this is one kind of history. This is not people's history. People's history is in their memory. Remember, Subaltern Studies writes about Gandhi in a village, tries to understand how Gandhi was being perceived. So a villager lady told him that we thought Gandhi was a Mahatma who would touch the head of a child who is not well and the child will become all right. That is the new history, subaltern history that they wanted to create. I think that is what we have to locate. We have to re-narrate those histories, connect them together to see what is the idea of freedom that we have today. Our idea of freedom is very important. I met a professor in Copenhagen. He was from Australia. There was a big conference. He came to me, started talking to me. He said that my coming to this Copenhagen conference has become successful just because I have met you. I said, what is there in me? I have no knowledge. He said, no, because you are from India. I said, why? He said, the meaning of freedom is understood by Indians only because they have fought for it. They have developed a sense of freedom. I think that meaning of freedom we have to transmit to the world. Some time back, a team came from Sweden, and the team said that, well, India is going to become superpower. I said, what? Why should India become a superpower? We have nothing to export. What shall we give to the world? You know what he said? He said, you have ideas to give to the world. You have imagination to give to the world. What is that imagination that we can give to the world? Today, the greatest crisis of the world is that world is running out of imagination. That is his statement, not my statement. He said that world is running out of colors. World is running out of imagination. And India has that imagination. Imagination of freedom that you have. People don't have that. Lot of ideas that you have produced in the past. And that is what I call, why do we want to go back to history? History is very bloody. We have been fighting against each other all the time. Isn't it? You find out history of two communities, any two communities in India. You have an ugly history there. But in that ugly history, there's something very beautiful. That beautiful is the idea that we produced during that struggle. That idea we need to capture today. Because the world needs that idea today. Not only we, not only you, the entire humanity needs that idea today. Humanity is running out of ideas. I call it end of time. There's a big philosopher called Zizek. This is his phrase. What is the end of time? The modernity started with Renaissance and Reformation in Europe. So it was the beginning of a new time with new ideas, new concepts, new categories. We started looking at the world with new ideas, new concepts, and new categories. Those ideas, concepts, and categories have reached to their limit now. Now, if we don't bring new ideas, survival of humanity will be difficult. And I'm not saying this. You must be knowing somebody called Stephen Hawking. He went to space. So people ask, यार तुम तो ऑलरेडी परेशान हो इतना फिजिक्स को लेकर अपना स्पेस में जाके क्यों टाइम बर्बाद कर रहे हो, अपना एनर्जी भी खत्म कर रहे हो. He said, I want to go to the space to see how the world will live after 100 years. Because if there is no innovation in ideas, if they do not know how to resolve their conflict, then humanity will be in danger. Because humanity has developed in last 400 years huge amount of instruments of mass destruction. And we can see in the new war going on how much instruments humanity has developed to kill each other. We can kill each other by remaining in our room. We can also kill each other by spreading virus. We have already seen that. We are not sure whether it was naturally spread or artificially spread. Was it a biological warfare? I'm not sure about that. But it is possible now that I, in my room, innovate a virus, spread in Tral, and people start falling ill. And we do not know what is the treatment of that. No matter how much vaccines we have taken, we are falling ill. And there is a big debate going on that vaccine itself was a big racket. People have earned a lot of money by vaccination. So this is what is happening to humanity. So what do we need to spread today to the world is love, affection, emotion. These are the words. They were expunged from Dictionary of Social Science. A political scientist does not talk about emotion, does not talk about love, affection. And that is a tragedy that has happened globally speaking. So probably we need to go back to our history to find out those lights that we produced during our conflict also. Those lights are necessary. And one of the things that I think India has produced, and every part of India has produced, is the idea of freedom. What is the idea of freedom? Idea of freedom, those are students of political science must be knowing there's a positive freedom, there's a negative freedom. That is not important. What is freedom that we have produced? What is the idea of freedom that Kashmir has produced? I have gone through and some literature produced in Kashmir in various phases by the Sufis, by the Rishis, by the saints staying in this region. And now I have a friend, Irfan, who is working on these ideas in Kashmir. We are trying to locate the intellectual history of Kashmir and what are the ideas still surviving in people's memory. The idea of the freedom that we produced was that we have to have cordial relation with nature. We protected our nature. We could have made technology. इतना ज्ञान था हमारे पास कि हम भी बहुत तरह का टेक्नोलॉजी बना सकते थे. लेकिन हमने क्या किया? अपने ज्ञान से नेचर को प्रोटेक्ट करने वाला टेक्नोलॉजी बनाया. डिस्ट्रॉय करने वाला टेक्नोलॉजी नहीं बनाया. Any technology that you produce that would destroy your nature, that was not respected by people. Because the freedom's central idea that we produced was Geo or Jeene do. That was the idea. Geo or Jeene do. This sentence, since truth is so complex, we cannot know entire truth. If we cannot know entire truth, then how can we claim that we know everything? And if we can't claim that we know everything, then we have to keep our understanding as tentative. And let us engage with the other person to see whether he is right or I am right, and there is a possibility of dialogue. Gandhi rediscovered this when he started Satyagraha. That was the idea, Satya ke liye Agra, that both of us insist on our truth, but don't kill each other on the ground of the fact that I know the truth and you don't know. I think that is the idea that world needs today. World needs to be told that nobody knows the truth. All of us are trying to know the truth. From where comes the arrogance that I have all ideas? In the college anthem, I heard a word, ilm. This word really attracts me a lot. What is ilm? What is the difference between ilm and knowledge? Can somebody tell me? I tell you by a story. Premchand wrote this story, you can read the details. It's called Mantra. There's a man who, tell me when my time is over because, I have a habit of speaking for 2 hours.
You from Delhi to listen to you. You can take whole days.
So, no. What is the story? There's an old man, he has a grandson. He was not well. He was taken to a doctor. And doctor says that, well, I can cure him, but this is my time to play tennis. And I am very perfectionist on timetable. I maintain my timetable, so I'm going to play tennis. The young boy died. The old man went back home. After some time, the doctor's son was bitten by a snake. सांप ने काट लिया. Now this was the only man, the old man, who knew कि सांप के काटे की दवा क्या होगी. And he came to know about this, and he kept walking in his home, deciding that I will not go to this doctor's place because he killed my son, actually, the grandson. And his wife was watching him and said, तुम तो जाओगे जरूर, रोक नहीं पाओगे अपने आप को. And said, no, I have decided not to go today. In the meantime, somebody comes from that area and said, अरे तुम्हें मालूम नहीं हुआ उसे सांप काट लिया, तुम गए नहीं अभी तक? Then his patience broke. He said, no, I'll have to go. He went there. He treated the boy. The boy became all right. And the doctor offered huge amount of money कि ले जाओ पैसे. बोला ये मेरे लिए नहीं है, ये आपको काम आएंगे. मेरे पास तो इल्म है. इल्म का काम यही है कि उसका जहाँ उपयोग होना है फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट उसका उपयोग करना है. पैसे कमाने के लिए इल्म नहीं होता है. नॉलेज है पैसे कमाने के लिए. Therefore they call it, the phrase in English is knowledge is power. Phrase in India is ilm is for seva. You cannot sell off. I met a doctor and he was giving, somebody had a piles and this man said that I can cure you, I can give you a medicine. So he gave a medicine and we asked him how much money. He said, no, I can't take money for this medicine. I can take money for all other medicines, but this one medicine which is very effective and there is no treatment in medical science, but I cannot take money. Why? Because my great-great-grandfather came to know about this medicine in his dream. So it is the ilm of my family. I can't sell it off. If I sell it off, I know I can become very rich, but I can't sell it off. This is the difference between ilm and knowledge. I think this difference we have to tell to the world. We have to tell the world that knowledge is not a marketable commodity. Knowledge is for serving the humanity. And all knowledge produced by everybody anywhere in the world, by all human beings, are collective resource of humanity as a whole. It is not individual resource. It is not my own resource. It is a resource of the humanity, and that should be used for helping the humanity in coming out from the trouble that humanity is facing. This is freedom. The freedom is to serve the people. Freedom is not to dominate the people. Freedom is to serve humanity, not to dominate humanity. I think this is the message that Indian thinkers have produced. And believe me, this is the idea that common people are holding in their mind. I went to a person, I wanted to speak to him, he was an old man. He asked me, कहाँ तक पढ़े लिखे हो? मैंने कहा PhD वेचडी कर लिया है. क्या करते हो? पढ़ाता हूँ. I don't want to talk to you. I said, क्यों? बोला यार ये पढ़े लिखे लोग बहुत चोर होते हैं. मैंने कैसे? कहा देखो चपरासी है, थोड़ा पढ़ा है, 100 रुपये लेता है. ब्लॉक डेवलपमेंट ऑफिसर है, थोड़ा ज़्यादा पढ़ा है और ज़्यादा पैसा लेता है, डिस्ट्रिक्ट मजिस्ट्रेट और ज़्यादा पैसा लेता है. तो ये तो तुम्हें पढ़ाया क्या गया है? What have you been taught? So I don't want to talk to you. This is what has happened to us when we have started treating ourselves as commodity. We have become a commodity in the process. Common people are not. They still have sense of justice. Very strong sense of justice people have. They do not depend on roles to tell them what is sense of justice. And that is the message that freedom struggle has given to us. I'll give you another example. Sorry, I tell a lot of stories. I hope you like the stories. I was doing a field work in a small village, in a small constituency. There was a lady, middle-aged lady, and her community or caste had very small number. She did not have money. She was an independent candidate. And she defeated somebody who was never defeated in the constituency. And defeated by 25,000 of votes in assembly constituency, which is a big number. So I was doing field work. I was asking people, whom will you vote and all that. Everybody was saying that we will vote this lady. And I was asking why. Common perception of political scientists is कि पैसा बाटी होगी, उसका जातवाद ज़्यादा होगा, कुछ होगा इस तरह का. But they were saying इसके साथ injustice हुआ है. She has not got justice. I said, what is this justice? क्यों ये justice हुआ है? He said, injustice ये हुआ है कि पहले उसको टिकट दे दिया किसी पार्टी ने और आखिरी दिन टिकट छीन लिया उससे. तो आपके सामने थाली परोस के कोई दे दे और वो छीन ले, तो दुश्मन से भी ऐसा व्यवहार नहीं करना चाहिए. This is injustice. Such a profound understanding of justice. What is this justice? Those of you who have any idea of Mahabharata, let me tell a story from there to confirm, and then I'll take you to Rawls. What is theory of justice there? महाभारत होने वाला है, युद्ध कल सुबह होने वाला. इमेजिन कल सुबह महाभारत जैसा युद्ध होने वाला जिसमें बहुत लोग मारे जाएंगे. And the king invites a man who is a nitikar. See, niti and niyam, there are two things. Principles and rules, there are two things. Principle is thing on the basis of which rules are defined. So unfortunately, we have forgotten principles, we only remember rules. So this man is invited, and the king is asking the man, the philosopher, why is Mahabharata happening? Why do you think people are fighting? We know that entire population will be wiped out. He says, because you have not done justice. The king said, what? How have I not done justice? What is justice? And he says very simple thing. He says, something that you do not want for yourself, do not do it to others. As simple niti. That is justice. That is what, those of you who have read Rawls little bit, you will know Rawls says that there's a veil of ignorance and you don't see where you will be born, then you think about justice. That's how you can arrive on justice. So this culture already has a sense of justice. In the freedom struggle, there were our leaders at smaller levels, whom Gramsci calls organic intellectuals, located in the villages, schoolmasters, played very important role. What role did they play? They just invoked the idea of freedom, the idea of justice. Small poets, sung by people, and that is the idea of justice that was spread. I think that is where we have to pinpoint that these are the forgotten heroes whom we have to recollect, those who constituted the common sense of our people during the freedom struggle and after that, because they will be able to defend our democracy. Our democracy is in danger, remember that. And I'm saying as a responsible research scholar. Why it is in danger? There is an alliance between capital and the state. Perfect alliance. And capital doesn't bother even for relatives. Forget about the democracy. Capital needs only one thing. What is that? Profit. That's it. It knows no other language. It can sacrifice own relatives for profit. Watch Hindi films. They will give you a lot of ideas how people are sacrificing capital. So they will sacrifice every relationship, every human relationship, in order to make profit. And this alliance is not only India, global alliance is happening. And to work this alliance, they will keep us divided. So protection of your democracy is in your hands, in our own hands. We have to rethink, we have to reconnect with those organic intellectuals, we have to understand those organic intellectuals and reconstitute our understanding of justice, freedom, equality and everything. I think that is very important thing to do today, and that is where India has something to offer to the world. I will just take few more minutes by giving a couple of examples. Look at this amazing lady, a brilliant lady, well educated. Aurangzeb spent all possible resources for her education. She was playing very important role in administration, but then she was arrested for some reason, Dara Shikoh and all, something happened and she was arrested. She stayed in the prison and wrote 15,000 couplets, not translated as yet. We are trying to translate some of them to understand her mind. She talks of freedom. The freedom is deeply rooted in our culture. That is what we have to offer to the world. The other thing, and that gives me a lot of hope. The other person, I'm sure you might not be knowing about it because many of the Indian intellectuals also don't know about him. I have discovered it somehow, is Bhartrihari. Have you heard of the name? Bhartrihari? No. Philosopher is an amazing person. Was a king. The story goes like this, that he was a king and he got disillusioned by all this kingship and everything and left his kingship. Became a sannyasi, became a bhakt of Gorakhnath, and was able to negotiate between Buddhism, Islam and Hinduism, and wrote 3 important texts. One of the texts became source for French philosophers, including Derrida, those of you know about him, to talk about structuralism and post-structuralism. Linguistic philosophy of the world. But more important than that, what you will discover very interestingly, Hindus and Muslims in Gorakhpur and neighboring areas, they sing Bhartrihari, even today. There are villages and villages where people take upon themselves to move around and sing Bhartrihari songs and influence people and tell them the story of love. Why human beings should love other human beings. I think that is the notion of freedom that we have got. And that is echoed, and that is the last part of, I will take another 5-7 minutes, last part of our discussion. I think that is echoed in 2 great poets from Kashmir. One very well known, one lesser known. Very well known is, of course, Mahzur, Pirzada Ghulam Ahmad Mahzur. Many of you must be knowing him. What really I found striking was that Balraj Sahni made a film on him. Unfortunately, the film is not available. I wanted to watch the film. Balraj Sahni came to Kashmir, heard some young people singing some songs, and he asked them, किससे कहा, किसकी लिखी हुई कविता है, किसने लिखा है ये? तो one person said, मुझे मालूम नहीं, हम लोग गाते हैं इसको. But a better educated person said कि ये महजूर साहब की कविता है, हम लोग उसको गाते हैं. Then he started working on Mahzur and made a film on him. Till then he was a hero. People knew him, but not so well known. But gradually I think he became very well known, and not the mainland India knows about him more. I want them to know about him. But yes, a lot of people know about him. The other person who is lesser known is Abdul Hamid Azad. Abdul Ahmad Azad. Abdul Ahmad Azad. And I will not speak too much of him. I'll just read few lines and will attract your attention to suggest that whatever I was saying, how it is reflected in his poetry. The poem is long, I have noted it down, but I will just read few lines for your consideration. He is talking to human beings. and telling them, you were the light of reason. You were the light of reason, but you chose to be fire, O man. You put humanity to disgrace. You were the light of reason, but you chose to be a fire, O man. You put humanity to disgrace. How careless of you, O man. And then next stanza says, nature has thrown open all its treasure to you. Nature has given everything to you, humanity. You had to share them equitably, which you have not done. What have you done? But you sat serpent-like on them, O man. And you can understand what the whole poetry is about. It's telling the man what has happened to you. Reviving something that is within us, that's called human essence. Something that Iqbal talks about. The Khudi. Iqbal's long poem, we are trying to kind of now bring that in the course of social sciences. That we must read our poets being a social scientist. But they are dealing with emotions and feelings. We are not. And without emotions and feelings, there cannot be any discipline of social science. So I think I will close here by suggesting that Kashmir is a treasure gold mine for knowledge traditions. We must reclaim those knowledge traditions. We must reclaim those organic intellectuals who constituted those knowledge traditions. We must reclaim those organic intellectuals who constituted those ideas of freedom, love, justice, affection, emotion, and all those things. And that will be Jasne Azadi or Azadi, Amrit Mahotsav, whatever you call. This is the Amrit that we have to bring out after a lot of manthan of our own society. Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me.